Today we'll dive a bit more deeply into Omero and how to integrate it with your image analysis pipelines. And I also want to introduce Jean-Marie Burel, who's joining us from the Ome team. So he'll be answering your questions in the chat. And unless there were some questions left from yesterday, I'll give the word to Peter.
Thank you very much, McGill. Let me welcome you to the second part of this Omero workshop at the Advanced Imaging Facility in McGill University. And first, let's go quickly over what we want to cover today. I hope that you still are aware that we have the link to the walkthrough. That's the same as yesterday. And Jamal can bring you the chat of the Zoom again if you forgot how to get to this PDF and to the folder with the presentation. We've done, obviously, yesterday, the day one. We ended with the 3D viewer FP Bio image. And today, for day two, we would like to cover mainly how to connect third-party tools, as we call them, with Omero. And the third-party tools will be mainly image analysis packages, softwares, which are very powerful, typically in some regions of image analysis. And Omero, as we said, is not concentrating on delivering image analysis solutions out of the box. Instead, it allows these third-party tools, these packages, these programs, such as Fiji, for example, to connect to the images inside the Omero server using this intermediate plug called Omero API. Okay, and then we will go over several walkthroughs in Fiji, and the data which we will produce, meaning the analysis results, which we will produce analyzing the images in Omero in Fiji, will be then stored back in Omero, and we will then mine the images inside Omero based on those data. So it's kind of like an extended data management, if you want. But yeah, that is a step further, because the management, the way how we will find and look at the data is then the analysis result driven, not, let's say, tags driven or key value pairs driven as yesterday. Okay, so it will really matter what size of the ROI, let's say, has this image or that image in order to be found or highlighted in such an approach. And then it will culminate in the creation of a figure, as usually scientific walkthrough does, for publication, or even for sharing with your colleagues in your lab, with your boss, etc., or with some peers in other institutions. Now, I will come back to the presentation yesterday. Don't worry, I will not go through that again. But what we want to make sure that we understand each other here about is how is the Omero ecosystem actually set up typically, and who is doing what? Where are the data? What are your responsibilities? What are responsibilities of the Ome team? And what can Omero do for you? Okay, because these are the questions which we think we always explore, but for some time there is always this thing that Omero sometimes doesn't fit into mental model of scientists. So let's go through that a little bit again. So Omero, as we said, is a software which is an image management software. And the main point about Omero technically is that you have to kind of realize that the images, all the images you will work with in Omero are on the Omero server. This is not local to where you are. This is somewhere else, okay? And this is, in our case, the case as well. This is the first thing. The second thing is that the responsibilities of the Ome team and what is being given and shipped and what is not being given and shipped. The Ome team is developing and shipping the software called Omero server. And it's developing and shipping the software called Omero Insight and Omero Web, etc., which we then call clients, which you can and you did download yesterday. That's fine. This software is for free. Once more, also Omero server is a software, okay? It's a software which you have to install on some hardware. And that hardware must be provided in a real world, in the hard world, so to say, to install a software on. The step when you are installing something on a hardware is not a responsibility of the Ome team. It's the responsibility of the hosting institution of this and that Omero server. So you have to have a mental image of something like one Omero server per scientific institution or more. It depends, of course, on how big the scientific institution is and how many servers do they want to have, etc. What influence or say has the Ome team on that? Well, if Ome team is asked a question by the institution how to do that or how not to do that on a forum, then Ome team will answer that question. But that is it.
I ended up listening to the guy and not playing with it, so I need to play more.
Is my audio okay, or was it?
Yeah, it is fine, Peter.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. So I hope that that is clear. Okay, that this is the typical situation. The vast majority of the Omero servers running, and now by Omero server I mean the real thing, the software plus the hardware, because the software, of course, is nothing without the hardware to run on. Okay, so until the institution overtakes this free software called Omero server and puts it on their hardware, then you don't have an Omero server. That's as easy as that. You can't use it. Okay. The crucial point here is that the institution is then responsible for 2 or 3 main things. It's responsible for providing that hardware to put the software called Omero server on. It's responsible for running that hardware ultimately. The Ome team will only answer questions about, yeah, we have problems here and so via the forum. And the institution is responsible through its IT to do backups of that data stored inside the Omero server, because this is not automatically. The institution will have to think about the expertise of how to get on board the expertise of people who know what a server is, what a typical server is, and how to run it. Okay. It's also responsible for maintaining, monitoring the size of the storage disk of the Omero server, and again do the appropriate things as a system administrator of a normal server, so to say, would do, meaning hosting a red flag in case the server, the disk space goes down, like running thin, etc., etc. So it's also responsible for, let's say, patching the server for security patches as normally is done. I know that you don't maybe understand all these technicalities. I just repeat it here because it has to be clear for the people also who are running or will run the Omero server at McGill. Okay, that is all on the plate of the institution who is hosting the server. The Ome team more or less is done with the job once it's shipped the Omero server and ships, of course, upgrades as they come during the development process. Okay, all the rest is up to the hosting institution, and of course they then have the money, power, and the say about how the Omero server in their institution is run. That's completely up to them. From there, the Ome team has no say there, so to say, except for the advisory things. There is by definition no such thing as how much space do I have on my Omero server, because that's not a question you can ask Ome team. There is as much space on your Omero server as the hosting institution provides resources to host that Omero server on their hardware and puts the additional storage disks for space onto that Omero server. Yeah. So this is all under the direction and responsibility of the hosting institution. In this case, this would be the University of McGill University. The question about how about these servers which we are using now here, okay, because this is a super special situation we are here in, okay. This is not the typical situation we are here in. We are in a workshop situation, and we have some server which we used yesterday, which are called generally training server. Its name is Outreach, okay. So how about that one? Well, that server also had to start as a baby, which was just software, Omero server as a software, and had to be put on a hardware. But this was done by the Ome team, and this is exceptional situation. The Ome team did that in order for the Ome team to be able to run workshops. Okay, that's why this training server exists. That's its sole purpose, and that's why the data are there as they are. They are not bad, of course, but are definitely untypical because they are there with the aim to showcase Omero. Okay, and is there a lot of storage space on that server? No, definitely not. Okay, because this is not what this server is there for. Then so I hope this is clear why we have the training server and what is it for. Okay. Then we have another server mentioned yesterday, and this was this demo server. I will just go quickly. This was the server which you navigate via the Open Microscopy website through that blue button. Anybody can come here and sign up for a demo server. This is again another server which started as a software only and is again hosted by the Ome team. Why did Ome team host that server? Well, because again, Ome team wants to propagate and showcase the software called Omero, but this time not in a single workshop situation, but kind of continuous service for the whole world, so to say. Okay, and this service is being kept up by the Ome team, with the caveats, of course, that the Ome team does not have endless resources, which would ultimately result in a service like that. Instead, Ome team simply says there is only that much space, and if the world, so to say, exceed that space by the means of importing too much data into that server, the Ome team will indiscriminately, more or less, delete the data on that server as they see fit, to prioritize new users from the world which want to create a new account and import the data and familiarize themselves with Omero. Okay, so I hope that I made clear those two special cases of the training server and demo server, but the non-special case which you will hopefully pursue on McGill is what I was talking in the first part, that the responsibility, the storage space, etc., will be on the part of McGill. But even on McGill, okay, on the McGill server, it still is true that this will be a server with clients. This means that the data will not be on something like USB sticks or hard drives or anything, or indeed on some laptops. They will be on a server. The server will be set up and run by McGill infrastructures. Okay, so I hope that this is kind of clear. And yeah, of course, the server will be set up on McGill infrastructures on McGill's time and schedule. This hopefully goes without explanation. Yeah. So good. Now we went through all that. Let me just go again. Sorry for the fast clicking. This is another special case of an Omero server, which is run by the Ome team, the IDR, by the way. Yeah, don't get confused by that. It's as special as the training server is as special as the demo server is, the IDR.